Hey, what's up, guys? Dr. Nathan Thompson here. And today I want to talk to you about protein. How much is too much? So, if you look at protein, you have your fats, you have your carbohydrates, and you have your proteins, right? All of them are critical for healthy cellular function. So, here's protein. The purpose of protein is they're the building blocks. So you listen, everything in your body is made of protein. So obviously you do need protein to rebuild and repair. So if you don't consume enough protein, which doesn't happen very often, you're going to suffer from things like muscle wasting. You're going to have a weakened immune system. You also might have brittle hair, nails, skin, just weakened connective tissue. Now, some people actually might be consuming enough protein, but they have problems with digestion, for example. They may be on a proton pump inhibitor, like the purple pill, Prilosec, and that actually inhibits protein digestion. So just remember this: it is about what you eat, but it's also about what you are digesting, absorbing, and assimilating, which also means you need a healthy gastrointestinal system, healthy liver. You need healthy nerve system, healthy neurological response, healthy hormones. So you can see how all of these actually work together. So a lot of people, as far as nutrition is concerned, not too many people don't get enough protein. However, there are people who get too much. So you can get actually, too much protein. Okay. Which takes me to this picture, right? you probably have seen this, where, people are slamming down protein shakes literally 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, getting 25, 30, 40 grams of protein all the time, because a lot of people think that the more protein you eat, the more muscle you're going to build. Here's the problem with this, is that muscle doesn't build unless you provide the stimulation for it to build. So by just consuming protein, it doesn't build muscle. You need a stimulus. The stimulus is actually exercise, but not just exercise, but tearing down the muscle to create an inflammatory response that the body must then repair with protein or the components of protein. So the first thing, if you want to build muscle, you just have to provide the stimulus to it. However, building muscle is not as easy as what people think. When someone says, I put on 5 pounds of muscle this month, I'm like, that didn't happen. In fact, growing muscle does not happen very quickly. Okay. So you do need the stimulation for the muscles to grow. So you need that inflammatory response from exercise or from weightlifting, whatever you're doing. And then you also need the building blocks with protein. However, if you're getting 500 to 600 grams of it, that protein you're not building for muscle. And in fact, most of it is actually turning into the end result being sugar or glucose. Okay. So if you are having issues losing weight, the problem may be that you're getting actually too much protein. Okay. Now, so how much protein should you be getting? Well, because not a lot of people answer this question. A lot of websites, they promote a certain diet. They don't say you need this much protein, this much fat, this much carbohydrates. So a lot of my recommendations, especially in the book Transformation 20, I actually recommend everything around how much protein you should be getting, which means like the first and foremost thing is we're going to figure out how much protein you need. And then we're going to work backwards to figure out your carb requirements and how much fat within a ratio of a percentage of your total food intake around carbs, fats, and proteins at a certain percentage. Okay. So then you can work backwards. So now a lot of times you can see like you can determine how much protein a person's need based on their age and maybe even their activity level, and also with their health goals. But let's talk specifically about longevity. Okay. Let's talk about because I talk a lot about longevity, you can eat for performance, obviously. But granted, that's sometimes not the healthiest thing to do long term. Let me give you an example. So let's say someone comes to me and they say, hey, Dr. Nate, I want to eat for performance. Okay, great. What do you need to improve your performance? And he says, sumo wrestling. Okay, so if you want to be a great sumo wrestler, you need a lot of mass, and that ain't muscle either. So, so you guys see how eating the way that a sumo wrestler eats, even though they can be the world's best sumo wrestler, they're not living very long, or maybe the world's best power lifter. So if you looked at their lab work and their blood work, you probably would say these aren't healthy people. And they actually would agree too. So just because you can perform well in powerlifting doesn't mean that it's necessarily healthy. So let's take all of the performance things off of the table, and let's just talk about what's going to get you to function well, what's going to help you heal well, and what's going to help you live as long as possible from a nutrition standpoint, because nutrition alone does not determine your longevity. So here's what I recommend to people, and I actually talk about this in the book Transformation 28. So I actually recommend for the average person to be consuming about 0.5 to about 0.75 grams of protein. Now listen, per pound of lean body mass, per pound of lean body mass. So how do you determine what your lean body mass is? Well, it's basically how much you weigh minus the amount of pounds of fat that you actually have. Really cool test that we use is we use the InBody body fat analyzer. And this uses bioelectrical impedance at the feet and also at the hands. So it's going through the whole body instead of just the hands. So it's actually looking at impedance that's happening in the lower extremity too, which is going to be a little bit more accurate, especially for people who tend to put weight on in the butts and thighs, which is typically going to be women. So when we measure that, we can figure out what a person's lean body mass is by taking their weight minus their body fat, how much body fat they have. So you want to take that because that is going to be, all those other components are either going to be either some form of proteins in the form of organs and bones and connective tissue, or it's going to be water. Okay. So 0.5 to 0.7 grams. Let me give you an example. I have about 200 pounds of lean body mass. Lean body mass. So what that means is for the average person, I would need approximately 100 to 150 grams of protein per day. That's not that much. Okay. It's not that much. So let's say I had we have the super special T28 smoothies that we have. But when we do that, if I do that, let's say a lot of times I'll do it in the morning and I'll get about 30 grams of protein. Sometimes in the afternoon, I'll do it again because I'm keeping my insulin levels low throughout the whole entire day. So at the end of the day, I might have about 60, and I might have some raw nuts, some raw seeds. So I'm probably getting, by the time I get to dinner, maybe about 80 grams of protein. So for example, let's say I wanted 150 grams of protein. That means I would get about 70 grams of protein at dinner. And guys, that is not that much. Now, relatively speaking, 3 ounces of lean meat is going to have about 20 grams, 21 grams of protein. So what that means is I'm probably only getting anywhere from maybe 6 to 7 ounces of a healthy protein source, like grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, something like that. Maybe having some cage-free eggs. And not having that much, maybe 4 or 5 of them. So you really see, like, even for me, I actually don't need that much protein at all. Now, if you're inactive, it might be about 0.5 grams. If you're a little bit more active, like I am, might be 0.75 grams or so. If you're elderly, what I've found is that elderly people need more protein. So I actually would recommend elderly people, even if they're inactive, getting about 0.75 grams protein per lean pound of body mass. Well, like, what if you have someone who is, they're an elite CrossFitter? Are they going to need even more protein? Absolutely, because they need muscle growth and they need more repair. They're just tearing down their system that much more. They're burdening the system. So you may go into having 1 gram of lean protein or 1 gram of protein per lean pound of body mass. You may even play with a little bit and get a little bit more. But one thing is for certain, if you're getting 500 grams of protein every single day, you're really putting a burden on the body. And not only that, but then when you consume a lot of protein, it does have the potential to spike your insulin levels. Okay. So you don't need as much protein as you need. So best sources of protein. Well, listen, the best sources of protein are always going to be attached to the best sources of fat. So that means that if you're getting healthy fats, like in the form of free-range grass-fed, wild-caught, those kinds of fats are also going to have the healthy sources of protein, okay? So, but there are some proteins out there that aren't very good for you. And a lot of people ask me too about meal replacements and things like that. And let me give you my opinion on them, okay? Here's what I think some of the worst forms of protein are, and I'm going to disappoint a lot of people, but I think one of the worst forms of protein is bacon. So unfollow, listen, and here's the reason why. There is no doubt about it that bacon tastes amazing. It really does. And have I had it? Full disclosure, yes. And if I do have it, I understand it's not good for me, which is the difference. A lot of people might eat bacon and they think, well, it is good for me because it's just protein. The thing is that, listen, pork is always going to be higher toxicity. I don't care what you say. If you look at the physiology of a pig, they don't sweat, which means that they hold on to toxins more and they can store toxins a lot better because they store toxins in their fat. And you know what? We store toxins in the fat. But if you look at bacon, it's also heavily processed. There's nitrates, nitrites. And listen, University of Hawaii did a study and found that, listen, like some of these like heavily preserved nitrate foods in the form of bacon or hot dogs, this can actually potentially cause pancreatic cancer because some of these toxic proteins are so damaging over time to the pancreas. What about soy? Are you a fan of soy? Because soy is a big thing with vegans. By the way, how do you know that someone is vegan? They're going to tell you within the first 5 seconds of them meeting you. And it's the same thing with CrossFitters. They'll say the same thing. Full disclosure, I do CrossFit, by the way. So, hey, listen, the thing with soy is that, hey, listen, a lot of soy now is genetically modified. And I'm saying this as the son of a farmer who raised soybeans and corn. But soy can be hard to digest. Soy is also known as a phytoestrogen, meaning it can increase estrogen levels in the body, which is why I don't recommend it for men at all. But I don't even recommend it for women because most women have actually problems with estrogen. Soy's been associated with thyroid issues, with a goiter. And again, going back to the idea of soy being genetically modified and also containing a lot of Roundup or glyphosate on it, okay? So what about some, we know the good and we know some of the bad, but what about some of these other ones? I know that people ask me. So what about like meal replacement proteins? Okay, so here's my take on them. There's a lot of different meal replacement proteins. Here's the big three. The big three are going to be whey. It's going to be some kind of vegan protein, some kind of plant-based protein like pea or hemp. And then you also have a different type of protein too, like a bone broth protein or collagen, okay? And all of them have a little bit different kind of functions. So whey is great for building muscle. It gives you the components of detoxification. It's probably the most easily absorbed and digestible. It can, however, spike your blood sugar if you have it in large amounts. That's why like some of the whey that I recommend also has some fat from it in it, and it also has whey from concentrate, not isolate. So isolate gets into the system right away. Concentrate is more natural form, a little bit slower absorbed. So full disclosure though, is I will tell you that some people have allergies to whey, so they don't do very well with whey. However, a lot of people might have an allergy to casein, which is, they call this the devil in the milk. And that's why the whey protein that I recommend is casein free, actually. So is whey good? Yes, I wholeheartly agree, but you also have to make sure that it doesn't have any kind of fructose in it or artificial sweeteners. Make sure it's from a concentrate, not isolate, and make sure, again, it's coming from a grass-fed source. And then make sure, too, that you don't have an allergy to the components of whey. How do you know that? You do a blood test, and you look at how your immune system is reacting to certain foods. Now, if you consume whey every single day for 4 years, you probably will develop an allergy to it. And that's why I always will switch things up to make sure I'm not getting a dominant form of protein all the time. So the next form of protein too is going to be like some kind of vegan protein. So a vegan protein, I switch that up to like a pea protein, hemp protein, something like that. I think has a great benefit as well. And so I like to get actually both of them and switch on and off. Another one that I'm a fan of is bone broth protein. So bone broth protein, you get the protein from the marrow, basically the marrow of bones. The reason why this is good, a great form of protein, is because this is going to be high in collagen. So collagen is basically what all of your connective tissue in your body is made of. Your joints, your skin, hair, nails, all of this is made of collagen. Ladies, if you feel like you are accelerating, like how your skin looks, because a lot of times people think I want younger looking skin, I need to put everything from the outside in on the skin. Listen, think that healthy looking skin is an inside out job. It's not an outside in. So if you are having sagging skin, think of this. Am I getting enough collagen? Am I getting enough vitamin C? And are my stress hormones out of control? Because if your stress hormones are out of control, mental stress, physical stress on side of the body, the spine, on nerve system, on the gastrointestinal system, and when you have all of these stresses, you make stress hormones, which means that the body is going to utilize everything to make the stress hormones, including vitamin C, for example. And you can actually be vitamin D deficient, which is what you need for healthy skin, hair, nails, is vitamin C in order to produce collagen. So is bone broth protein good? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm becoming a fan of it more and more and more. The other thing that's great about bone broth protein is it'll be high in glycine. Glycine is great for detoxification. Glycine is also great in order to help with the health of the gastrointestinal lining, especially. So, hey, best forms of protein that I recommend. And again, if you're doing things like whey protein shakes, and make sure, again, great source. But I always recommend that if you're going to do that, put in some MCT oil in order to increase the amount of fat in it too. So I always put about a tablespoon of MCT oil anytime that I do that in order to increase the amount of fat. And I'll also put some healthy greens in it at the same time. All right. So guys, I hope this helps. More about this in the book Transformation 28, where I talk about this obviously in detail. And I also show you how you can actually calculate from a starting point how much fat and protein and carbs you should be consuming every day, specifically for weight loss. So we start at the low end and then we start adding it up after that. So we show that in it, and we also have a special calculator at transformation28.com. You can find a calculator, and you can kind of, if you know your body fat percentage, you know your weight, you can give you a good idea of where you should actually start off. And specifically when people are doing the T28 challenge, everybody's looking for weight loss, especially. So this is how we help you decide how much fat, protein, and carbs that you should be starting off with. All right. So T28 challenge is actually coming up January 19th, Morris and Yorkville. The early bird deadline is today. So, hey guys, if you don't do it today, you won't save $50 on your Transformation 28 challenge in Morris or Yorkville. So you guys are going to have to call the office literally today within the next couple of minutes, because we're going to be leaving. That's why I did this live early, because I want to get out of the office. I love what I do, but sometimes I want to get away. So make sure you call the office within the next couple hours, no later than 2 o'clock, 630-553-6149. Or make sure you register. You can find a registration link at T28 Challenge on Facebook. Okay. Now, if we had some people say, hey, I watched your talk, I'm from Texas. What do I need to do? Well, we have an online resource for you. If you go to T28challenge.com, that is the online course that we have. So literally from start to finish, we take you through the whole entire thing, all the resources, videos, and everything. It's an online learning course. And we have that, and you can utilize that and where to order everything, and everything's taken care of during the online challenge. People who do the challenge at Morris and Yorkville will actually be giving them the online challenge as part of their registration fee for that. So if you are from out of town and you can't do it, you can go to T28challenge.com, and you'll see that you can actually purchase the online challenge. Really cool. It's almost harder doing that than it was actually writing the book. So guys, I hope you found this enjoyable. Next week, I'm going to talk a couple of times about exercise, how you should do it, what type of exercise is best, what type of exercise will absolutely destroy you and tank you. So guys, be well. Have a great weekend. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. And listen, share this with someone who you know that would benefit from doing that. Guys, I sincerely appreciate it. We're getting the message out. We've changed so many lives through what we teach, through the T28 Challenge and through Transformation 28. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend, guys.